I'm King Link, and it's June, so it's time for the Humble Choice June 2024 review. Almost half the year has passed, and we've had some amazing bundles, and then there's this month. Like always, I played these games on stream for an hour, 90 minutes for one of them, and I'm a little bit surprised at some of the titles. After checking out the games, I can tell you what the games are like, who's going to enjoy them, and if you should check them out yourself. And if you're wondering which game I played for 90 minutes, well, let's just talk about the game on screen. Risk of Rain 2, a strange sequel. Risk of Rain was a side-scrolling roguelite with tiny graphics that was kind of amazing. Risk of Rain 2 is a third-person roguelite, and while it is a similar game, and I can see the original here, this really doesn't feel like a true sequel. This is so much better. In Risk of Rain 2, you're running through multiple vibrant worlds, hunting treasure chests, finding the damnable teleporter that will take you to the next world, and fighting a boss while it charges up. All of that was in the original, of course, but if you ever played the original, you know this just plays completely different. There are so many beautiful worlds, fleshed out classes, interesting enemies, tons of combat, and a freedom of movement that really feels like a massive upgrade. It's, again, a different game. There's a multiplayer that works very well, though I think it is harder than single player, and there are a ton of items to find. Which kind of brings me to the one big issue I have. The game doesn't tell you what an item does, so quite often you have to use a mod to show that or look online for information. I also got stuck twice while playing during the stream for over 10 minutes on 2 different levels hunting for the teleporter that I couldn't find. Even knowing what to look for really didn't help. Also, I struggle with the multiplayer but devastate in single player, and maybe that's a mod issue, but it does seem a lot easier in single player. Pick this up if you like roguelites, or if you're going to play with friends. I can tell you this is a lot of fun. I've had a group of 4 people that I've played this multiple times with. It was really great. While playing this solo on stream though is the first time I really remember winning, so yeah, maybe it is easier solo. I spent 90 minutes playing this because I was having such a good time, you know, just a great time. Winning helps, but it's just a well-designed game.
Our prince is ready to enter our royal court, sire.
Knights of Honor 2, Sovereign, a Paradox game not actually made by Paradox Interactive. This is made by THQ Nordic, but in every way this really screams Paradox Interactive. That makes sense because the original Knights of Honor was published by them. You have all the same expectations, a slow game focused on building up your nation, the ability to tell stories your way, and a large map with a lot of micromanagement available. I'm not really sure if any of that is a positive or negative though. I'm not a fan of this style of game, but I talk to more than enough people who can't get enough of them, and more power to them. If you like the genre, go for it. Like the rest of these, this is a game you're going to spend at least 10 to 20 hours before you truly know if you like it, and by that time you technically have gotten your money's worth. Pick this up if you like Paradox's simulators. This does feel a little more gamified with a focus on having victory conditions, but overall this is what you would expect from the genre, and for that it does its job. I just really have never been able to give this game enough time or focus that I would need to get the feeling of how to play them at a deep level, and that's really what they need.
Alright, hotshot, it's time. I'll even let you drive my signature car. I'll be driving something a little less top of the line.
LEGO 2K Drive, LEGO's take on Forza Horizon. I know Forza Horizon 4 has LEGO DLC, but that always felt a little bit too rigid for LEGOs and didn't have the LEGO game's humor. LEGO 2K Drive allows you to build cars, drive them, and smash everything up, and really have a great time while doing it. I love the ability to switch from a car to an off-road vehicle to a boat, and that really wouldn't work anywhere else, but it's so fluid and tight here, it works well. There's a good amount of content, solid voice acting, and a ton of things to do. Also, this package has all 4 drift passes as DLC. That's their version of battle passes. But yes, there are battle passes, this is still 2K, and even with all that there are other microtransactions included here, FOMO mechanics which I of course hate, and there's a bit of that 2K monetization mentality that constantly needs to remind you that you're playing a game, one that wants more money out of you. In addition, the game is a bit easy. While it is similar to Forza Horizon, there are Mario Kart style weapons that's probably going to upset some people. At 8 hours for the story, it is a bit short, but How Long to Beat says it will take about 80 hours for the full completion, so there really is a ton here for people who want to dive in, as well as multiplayer. Also, why isn't there a search bar for downloading vehicles? Pick this up if you like Forza's open world style of gameplay and want a relatively easy and kind of funny game. Also, you're getting the humble choice, and I really do stress that last part, getting the humble choice. This is fun and it's worth the bundle for the price, but it's the price of $12. If the game was $20 as it is now and doesn't have all the awesome pack and the DLC, that's not as good a deal and I'd probably give it a thumbs down. And even with the awesome pack, there's still more DLC that's not included. 2K really pushes the limit on this stuff. Speaking of which, Warhammer 40k Battlesector, XCOM Warhammer style. Battlesector takes all of Warhammer's lore and puts almost all of it on a shelf. You do have a form of space marines, you have an alien race like the Zerg, and you fight amongst yourself. The combat is done in XCOM style, moving on a grid, taking shots at an enemy, with a lot of randomness involved and also a lot of awesome space battles. It's distilled from Warhammer in a pure essence, and it is the most similar to the board game with some minor changes. There's a story mode here as well as 2 other single player modes. Also, they have custom campaigns that are available online and multiplayer. But I did mention only 2 races. I believe there is now at least 4 races in the game now. The problem is you don't actually get those. If you want the entire game with all the factions now, you're paying at least $60 after buying this. And those additional races are only for the additional modes, plus there's elites for the 2 main. I mean, there's so much DLC, it's kind of annoying. There's no additional campaigns involving any of this DLC, and that's a lot of money. I know Warhammer is one of the most expensive hobbies, but does that make it okay for the game to demand kind of double the price of a normal game to get all the content in it? I'll answer that. Absolutely not. Pick this up if you want XCOM in the Warhammer universe. Now, the campaign is over 20 hours long, and as I mentioned before, there are 2 additional single-player modes that you can play more of, and even more playing online. However, I do really struggle with how the DLC feels like they could have gave the player a bit more for the initial purchase. This is what I was afraid of when Game Pass came around. A lot of games where you get only a part of the game up front and have to pay more for DLC over time just to get what feels like a complete title. There are coupons for some of the DLC in the bundle, but it's about $30 for the rest of the game, and even that isn't all the DLC or all the races, because of course there's more. And I do have a bit more experience with this title due to playing it on Xbox Game Pass a while back, but I can say this game really does stand up. Speaking of XCOM games, Miasma Chronicles, XCOM with stealth. The entire time I played Miasma Chronicles, I really thought that this feels a lot like Mutant Year Zero, and it's obvious why. It's made by the same developers, likely the same engine, and this time you're a loner who has a robot who's trying to figure out the secret of the miasma and a special arm your mom left you. This story sounds good enough to work, but I was more interested in the combat. The combat heavily focuses on stealth and getting into position to execute surprise attacks on enemy and take them apart. If you played Mutant Year Zero, you probably know what I'm talking about. While I did skip a couple of the cutscenes, a lot of the story felt like stuff I kind of have heard before. Missing parents, giving strange items to the kid having to learn how to use them. It's all a bit cliche. There's a post-apocalyptic world where the focus is on the first family of sorts that rule the land and need tithes. The gameplay was fun, but I also remember thinking the same on Mutant Year Zero, and that did wear off after a while. This is a 20-hour story, but I wonder if it could keep up the early momentum. Pick this up if you like Mutant Year Zero or want another XCOM title. Combined with Warhammer Battlesector, this is a good combination, but Miasma Chronicles feels like it's going to be the weaker of the pair. Still, I think it does something different, and not a lot of strategy games try to include stealth like Miasma Chronicles does.
You're making so much ado. You're lost and I'm trying to help.
Lost girls, you all love your lost girls.
Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. American Gods, the musical. Stray Gods does feel like a different take on American Gods, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's hard not to feel like this is a lighter version of American Gods that really doesn't push the concept as far as it could have. The main idea is that the Greek gods are now in America and have been in hiding. Grace, our main character, inherits the soul of a god, but now needs to find out who killed that god to show she's not the threat. The entire game is done as a visual novel with a lot of musical numbers, using many of those musical numbers as points where the player can make choices. The choices usually seem to be about who you side with so far, but are done in an entertaining and clever way. There's a decent amount of music in this game as well, of course. which I'm not a huge fan of. I do like musicals, but I'm kind of picky when it comes to them, and while the singing is good at times, it's a very passive experience. It's a visual novel, but the experience isn't that great, and the animation feels a touch cheap at times when it's just moving between still images, and if anyone wants to see everything in the game, you'll have to play through it multiple times or really just YouTube it. Pick this up if you're interested or like what you're seeing. There's a lot of clever moments in the first hour, the songs aren't terrible of course, and I'm just picky as hell when I say I don't like the music. It's a me thing, and the game as it is will be enjoyable to the right audience. I just have a bit of a higher bar when it comes to music, and this doesn't reach it. A Guidebook of Babel, point-and-click time manipulation. A Guidebook of Babel focuses on the afterlife where people get sent after passing away. In the game, you have certain quests and goals, and you have to achieve them by going back in time and rewriting the story. You can only rewrite certain pieces, but they'll change the story so you'll be able to achieve the set goals. You'll be rewatching the same scene, but you can also skip most of the dialogue. However, I really don't think this is enough. I could usually spot the solution in the first hour of gameplay within seconds of starting a scene. However, I would still have to play through a rather long scene and then do it a second time while trying to solve it, and while a lot of it is skippable, not everything is. The monotonous music or gameplay made me feel tired, and the story really just didn't grip me because I was seeing things twice or 3 times. Also, there's the ever-present guess what the developers were thinking to each of the puzzles. There's a clever hint system in the game, but it's one of those hint systems that's required by the style of puzzles rather than to help the players who are lost. Pick this up if you like point-and-click games. The time manipulation is interesting at first. I really loved the idea of time manipulation or changing the past, and just really didn't enjoy how this game did it. It reminded me a lot of Sexy Brutale, which did it a lot better and was a more straightforward experience. I'm not a huge fan, and maybe I needed more engagement with the game, but overall I just didn't enjoy myself with this title. Empyrion Galactic Survival, another survival game in the No Man's Sky vein. Empyrion Galactic Survival is a survival game on alien planets. The biggest selling point is the ability to create large-scale ships, and you can pilot massive ships in the game. You also have to earn those ships by digging up ore, building components, and developing a large ship one piece at a time. Think of the biggest Minecraft build you ever made, and think about it if it was a functional spaceship as well. But that also might be the issue with the game. It feels like everything's going to take a long time to do in this game, and you'll likely have to farm tons of ore to make that work, and that also means you have to find a lot of that ore. I'm sure there are ways to make all of this work faster, but in general the experience feels slow. Also, the tutorial really didn't work well and tries to tell a story rather than show you how to play the game, but also fails to teach the player too much, and the main game has a short tutorial that actually works a lot better. Finally, I felt a strong urge to go play No Man's Sky instead of this, which admittedly is a more simplistic game than this, but if you want to just zoom around the galaxy exploring it, No Man's Sky or Elite Dangerous does that far better. If you want to feel like you earned the right to explore the galaxy, then Empyrion is going to give you a better sense of satisfaction for that. Also, the game does feel a touch rough around the edges. It feels almost like it's not fully finished, but that's probably due to how the game has to be made to allow so much freedom in what you can create, which also means you'll be spending a lot of time looking online for tutorials or assistance for this. Pick this up if you want a game that you can build spacecrafts and explore the galaxy. This is not a fast game and will take a lot of effort if you don't play creative mode. There is a strong depth to the game, and the ability to dig into the ground is kind of unique, but also it feels like the progress in the game is a bit slow. I wasn't really seeing a way to get massive upgrades that I was hoping for, which probably means they're on different screens or in a different system. And we're going to end on that title. Honestly, Empyrion made me struggle. I hated it the first night and came around as I thought more about it. It's at least an interesting end cap for this list. With that said, let's take a peek at Is There Any Deal, and yeah, okay, that's a different opinion on Empyrion, but also the full list has a few surprises for me. Let's start with the little negative. Empyrion was actually in Jingle Jam 2021, which honestly isn't acceptable in my opinion. It was bundled 3 years ago. Come on, Humble, you can be better than that. Knights of Honor, A Guidebook of Babel, Battlesector, Stray Gods, and Miasma Chronicles all have great value and haven't been under $10. I don't know what that for you price for LEGO 2K Drive is, but that's a special edition, and the base version has never been under $16 according to Is There Any Deal, so that's a good price as well. As for the bundle, well, that's the thing. There's a ton of deals, but the bundle itself feels lacking. Maybe it's because I already owned Risk of Rain 2, which is a good game, but outside of XCOM fans who should be buying this bundle in a heartbeat for the 2 games in their genre, there's not really a ton here. LEGO 2K Drive was fun, but I feel like it's fun for a $12 game, not amazing at full price. Knights of Honor is trying to be a Paradox game so much it's actually in a humble choice, and Stray Gods and the Guidebook of Babel fell flat to me, so really this feels like a weaker offering. But let's throw the titles into the tier list and see what comes out. It might surprise us. I know it really surprised me this month. 4 categories: misses, averages, strong contenders, and games worth a full bundle price of $12. I know you can get it for cheaper, but that's what I paid, and that's what I'm going to be comparing it against. If you get it for less, well, obviously it's a better value. And shockingly, there is no miss this month. Honestly, the only one hovering down here was Empyrion, and like I said, I thought a little more about it. That leads us to the bottom of the average tier, and it's a Guidebook of Babel. Surprise, I just didn't get with this game, and I don't know why. It's average because I will admit maybe I was just tired after work, but I also played 3 more games and had a great time with each of them. I really don't know. I just didn't enjoy myself with this title. Hopefully others will. And that's also the story with Stray Gods, surprise number 2. This one is more that I get it. Someone is going to enjoy this one. I just struggle because the idea of Greek gods, musical, and more should have really worked for me. I just didn't enjoy it. It's too bad because conceptually this is good. I just wasn't as engaged. Truthfully, I'll probably just try to show this to my daughter, who's a theater kid, loves the Greek gods. So yeah, she's a huge fan of Hades too. There's my Hades plug. And finally, at the top of the average tier, it's Empyrion. I thought a lot more about this game, and while I'm not a huge fan of it and want a more polished experience or a faster paced game, I have to admit, for what it is, Empyrion is impressive, and it's just something that I think needs a very specific audience. If you want to play Minecraft in space and build and fly loud ships around, this will probably do well. It's just going to take a lot to get there. And here's how we look after the halfway point. As I said, I'm a little surprised at how many games are left. At the bottom of the strong contenders tier is Miasma Chronicles. I get a good feeling on this one so far, but I'm not sure it's going to last. As I said, I may have oversold Mutant Year Zero originally, and this might be an overcorrection, but I don't know if I really trust this game to be able to deliver on the story and gameplay for 20 hours. I hope I'm wrong. The other game in strong contenders is Knights of Honor 2. I always struggle with Paradox interactive games, and maybe I should just throw them in strong contenders from the beginning and move on. This is not a genre I truly enjoy, but it's all the same story. 20 hours or more to learn a game. By that point, you'll get your money's worth, and if you enjoy it, you'll have hundreds and hundreds of hours. But it's still a Paradox interactive style game, so it's only going to appeal to a select few. And that makes the tier list look like this, and that actually means there's 3 more titles to talk about. And the bottom of the game's worth the full bundle price is Warhammer 40k Battlesector. For $12, it's hard to deny this will be a great game. There's a lot of content, a lot of different modes, and it does feel like a very solid platform. It should, because this is based on the Warhammer tabletop game. This is probably my favorite Warhammer game, and I actually own 15 of them, so that's quite a high bar. This is also the first time I could say that I'm interested in learning more about the Warhammer lore rather than just bouncing off it like usual. But I still hate the DLC system on display here. It's lacking a lot of content in my mind. The middle of the full bundle tier is LEGO 2K Drive. This was a really fun game to play, and while it's a casual version of Forza Horizon, which is also pretty casual on its own, just building Legos, driving them around, and smashing them up is going to be fun for a long time. It's also worth noting that this is done without a real license attached, which is even more impressive. I'll get my money's worth out of this one. And the best game of this month, Risk of Rain 2. Come on, 90-minute stream. I can't remember any other game that kept me playing this long. I've also played this game for about 20 hours with friends before that, and I really want to play more. I'll probably schedule a Risk of Rain 2 session just because there's so much you can do with this, a ton of different characters, abilities, and more. And that's what I have, and this is the final tier list. I still stand by this being a weaker month. The games worth the full bundle price are exactly that. They're worth the price of the bundle, whereas something like Yakuza Like a Dragon is worth the full $60 price and still is an amazing game. Dear God, I've just referenced Hades and Yakuza. If I can bring up Outer Wilds, I'll have the trifecta, which I guess I just did. Let's talk about retro achievements, Gundam model kits, and other stuff that I've fallen in love with. However, if you agree with me that this is a bit of a weaker set, you might want to take a look at another bundle, and this month I'm going to recommend Playing for the Planet. I enjoyed Cardo and Lake quite a bit, as well as Before We Leave. For $10, this is easily worth it. In addition, there's a Warhammer Black Library bundle that's out there, so if you're a huge fan of Warhammer, you can look at that. With that, we come to the end. Now, if you enjoyed this video, throw me a thumbs up, leave a comment about what you think about this month's bundle, or share this with someone who you might think it will enjoy one of these games. I'll pop up 2 more videos if you want to hear more from me. See you next time.